Hey everyone, welcome to Mr. U's Reviews. Today I'm reviewing the new film Wonder Woman 1984. This film follows Wonder Woman on her new adventure in the year 1984 as she faces two new threats such as Max Lord and Barbara Minerva, aka Cheetah. As always, let's start off with the positives. The cast did a good job for the most part. Gal Gadot is back as Wonder Woman, and Chris Pine is back as Steve Trevor from the first film. But then you also have new actors to the series, such as Pedro Pascal as Max Lord, and Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva. And, they all did a good job for the most part. I did notice as the film went on, the line delivery started to get a little bit poorer and poorer, but it was nothing that really took me out of the film. It was just something I noticed. But for the most part, I thought they did a fine job in each of their roles. Also, I enjoyed the first act of this film. It had like a fun, vibrant feel to it, similar to, the Christopher Reeve Superman films from the 70s and 80s, which those films are classics. And it had that type of feel to it here. The fight scenes and the opening scene, it was very vibrant, and the stunt work and everything, they all worked well for the first act. I feel like that was the strongest portion of the movie for me, and it knew what it was. But yeah, it was like the attention getter for the film. It really hooked me into the film at the beginning. In addition, I thought the 80s were very well realized in this film, through the production design, or whatever like people wear. It was like classic 80s, so they really you felt like you were in the 1980s, just like the title says, 1984. And it just brought me into the world, the time period. So I thought, through the work of the production design and the costumes that civilians wear, that was just a strong portion of the film, taking you into the time period of the movie. Now let's move on to the negatives I had with the film, and one of the biggest ones were unfortunately the villains. One of the villains, Max Lord, at first I was kind of enjoying this villain. His superpower was interesting, but as the film goes on, and he really only has this one power, the film gets old quickly with his character. Not too much is done really. It goes the expected route. So I thought him as a villain was kind of bland and not really unique. Not one that I'll really remember, because he is the classic greedy villain that we've seen in many films. Lots of villains, they're greedy and such. So there was really nothing original here that makes this villain stand out, unfortunately. And with Cheetah, Cheetah is mostly her normal self, Barbara Minerva, for most of the film. So as a result, from what I've heard, Cheetah is the arch nemesis of Wonder Woman, just like how Joker is to Batman. But to see that they didn't really do too much with her as the arch nemesis, it was kind of like a shame, because this is supposed to be Wonder Woman's most grandest villain, but they really didn't do too much with her. She's mostly like an evil Barbara Minerva before she becomes Cheetah, and the powers that they give her were kind of bland, because they're similar to another hero. As you'll see in the film, you'll understand what I mean. So there was a lot of unoriginality with the villains, in my opinion, and they could have done something to even make it above and beyond, play with the comics storylines a little bit. But they just went with the cliche and unoriginal routes with both of these villains. So that was unfortunate to see, because I was excited to see these villains on screen from what I've heard about the comics. In addition, the runtime of this film could have been much shorter, in my opinion. It's 2.5 hours, and of course there's many films even longer than that. But there was no reason to drag the film on for that long of a runtime. They could have done the movie in 2 hours, and I don't think anything would have been lost necessarily, because at a certain point you really feel that runtime, and you're left thinking to the film like, come on, hurry up a little bit, because there's just a lot of unnecessary plot points that it could have been done in maybe 1 or 2 scenes instead of dragging it out over like 30 minutes, 40 minutes even sometimes. So yeah, that was one thing I thought could have been improved, because then you would have not felt that runtime as much, and you would have even been more like excited, on the edge of your seat, to what would happen next as a result. One more aspect of the film that could have been improved were the visual effects. There are many scenes where Wonder Woman is running and flying, but the background doesn't really blend in with her. It felt very obvious that it was green screen and CGI, which of course you have to use, but they could have spent a little bit longer blending her into the environment to make it feel more realistic, because that can take you out of those scenes, especially those action scenes, when instead you should be on the edge of your seat. And there were also, there was also aspects of like, wire work, which instead of, making it look like she was jumping, it looked like she was kind of floating. So it looked very choreographed and, just kind of like unrealistic. So in general, I thought the effects could have been improved. All in all, Wonder Woman 1984 was a watchable yet quite underwhelming sequel to the great first one. The cast, they all do a good job, and I really liked, the first act, how it had like a nice fun tone to it, similar to, the classic Superman movies. And I also thought that the 80s were very well realized. You felt like you were kind of a part of it. It really took you into the time period. Yet, the lackluster villains, the longer than needed runtime, and the poor visual effects, they took me out of the film during multiple portions of it. And I thought they could have done a better job, with those aspects. They could have improved it. But oh well. I give Wonder Woman 1984 a C+. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget your popcorn. Until next time, from Mr. U to you, stay tuned.